This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
The following episode of Charlotte, a City of International Success, is brought to you by Central Piedmont Community College and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Maha Gingrich. Coming up next on Charlotte, a City of International Success, I will interview Carlos Salum. We're going to talk about a very crucial topic, leadership performance strategy, which is extremely important in today's world. Stay with us. Welcome to Charlotte, a City of International Success. I'm Dr. Maha Gingrich. Today, our guest is Carlos Salum. He is a leadership performance strategist. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to have you because I had a chance to chat with you before the show, and I was amazed at the background of your family. So to start with, you're from?
Argentina, Buenos Aires.
Oh, okay. Isn't that a big cosmopolitan city?
One of the biggest.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, a lot of diversity, I would think.
A lot. 60% Italian immigration from the wars, then Spanish, the next contingent, and then the rest of the world.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
What a nice place to be brought up, you know.
Yes, it's very similar to Charlotte.
Oh, really?
In weather, and you can play tennis.
Oh, you have your priorities going.
Is the connection.
That's great. And also when we were talking, you talked about your grandparents. So you're not like Spanish.
No.
Okay, so talk to me about your grandparents, where they're from.
My family is Lebanese and French.
Lebanese and French.
Yes, my father's family is Lebanese. They emigrated around 1910.
Yeah.
My grandfather was 15 years old, had to leave because they were a very large family and they had run out of money. And through contacts with a priest, there was an opportunity to go to Rome, but there was disease, yellow fever, an epidemic in different parts of the world. So the ship kept going to Buenos Aires. My Lebanese grandmother had a similar story, but through New York. And Ellis Island was closed, and the ship had to go to Buenos Aires. So
really?
It was a very difficult time for immigrants, but Buenos Aires was very welcoming.
Yeah.
And without language, without money, just with a few contacts in the Lebanese community, they continued their life there. And my grandfather, became a businessman, an entrepreneur, had shops, and they had 3 children.
Okay.
My father first, who became a doctor in chemistry, and 2 sisters.
Your father became doctor in chemistry?
Yes.
Oh, that is a hard subject to become doctorate in, okay.
Yeah, so the first one to go to university probably in the entire family, entire lineage. And on my mother's side, they were French, and they had gone to Argentina to build railroads. And they have been very successful.
Wow.
So they had a fortune and many children, but the older brothers decided to gamble their money in France, and they lost most of it. And my grandfather, the little one, was left with all the women. To survive, he could not study, but through sheer effort and dedication and responsibility, he became the president of the National Electric Company without a degree.
That is amazing.
Both sides of my family are marked by grit, in a way, an entrepreneurial vision.
Entrepreneur, yeah.
So.
Wow. Now, your father, you said, is PhD in chemistry?
Yes.
And then what did your mother do?
My mother was also a doctor in chemistry.
Doctor in chemistry, both of them?
The French side, my grandfather was because he had to fight so much for getting ahead, he basically mandated that all his children, 5, would have PhDs. And they all did.
Wow.
So you had 2 doctors in chemistry, 1 physicist, a lawyer, and an engineer. And my mother worked in the National Academy of Medicine.
Yeah.
After being 1 year at the Institut Pasteur in France on
Yeah.
a scholarship, and work on genetics, the genetics of leukemia and hemophilia, and published internationally. But she wanted to be an artist.
She wanted to be an artist?
Which she became afterwards. When she
Really?
retired.
What a fine balance of the brain.
Yes.
Really? Now, you know, it amazes me. In those days, I didn't think getting a doctorate degree is a norm. Am I right?
True. Women had a very defined role in the family, and it was thanks to my free-thinking grandfather, who had said 50 years before it happened, in this country, in Argentina, there will be divorce one day, although the Catholic Church, was stopping that from happening. And he wanted the women in his family to have degrees and be independent. So I was truly a visionary in that sense.
Education and independence.
Yes, financially independent through education. So my parents met at the university, and it was a very good combination because although they were both in chemistry, they had different nuances in their approaches to life and personalities. And I grew up in a very rich and universalistic, basically diversity looking and international
thinking.
International thinking family,
I mean, what a great opportunity to have a family like that. Now, do you have any siblings or?
I have a brother.
Younger, older?
1 year, I'm older by 1 year and 3 months. We both had a Catholic education at a school that has this particular approach that they told us on the first day, one day all of you will lead this country. No pressure there.
No pressure at all.
But the education was very good. It was truly more than information, was education, very much in tune with my family's direction. Internationally diverse, curiosity, exploration, not just getting grades or learning to get a job.
How nice.
What can you become? What is your mark in the world? That was very important to me, going through that. No?
It was, it sounds like a well-rounded approach. Because most of the time when you go to schools, it's academic. Get your A's, do your tests well. And primarily that's where the focus is. If you want extracurricular, you need to go outside to get it. So what you're saying is at the Catholic school, you really had an opportunity to have a well-rounded education, academics, as well as understanding the world, and then probably really motivation to lead the country, be one of the best. I think to even instill that in a child, I think it's a wonderful way of motivating children.
There was one extra element.
Yeah.
There was the possibility of dissent. That was crucial. In the mix among the professors, there were some revolutionaries, or some people who thought completely different from the French brothers and anybody else. And that was very, very important. It's like putting salt and pepper in the salad, you need something prickly so you don't become dogmatic about the way you look at things. These guys were there to show us a tangent. For example, the literature professor, which inspired me, because then I could have been many things. I was at the top of my class. I was a class president because I was very diplomatic. I could talk to power. But I wanted to be a writer.
You wanted to be a writer?
Because this guy in particular had shown me that there was a possibility of something else. And I think that was very important.
Is writing, is that because you can express your thoughts freely? Or is it you can influence others through writing? Why did you want to become a writer?
My makeup, I learned later, that the way that my brain works is I am of the future. I am very idealistic. So I had to find a way to express this aspect of possibility of what can be. I cannot be content with what is. So writing was a very good way, and because I had started reading very early, even before going to proper school.
Yeah, I
in
believe that with two
kindergarten.
parents with doctorate degrees.
No, I was already enamored with what was happening in my head when I was reading.
Yeah.
The fact that you create a movie in your head. And then as a kid you try to act out and
Sure.
play act. And I think that factor through literature has become central to me because of what happened afterwards in my life. I mean, the fact that I could really start practicing the craft.
Did you pursue your writing career then?
My first professional choice in the
Yeah.
middle of a brutal dictatorship that was actually eliminating intellectuals was writing. And I entered the university with very good grades, but every day through the first 6 months I saw people disappearing around me. And my father said, I don't think this is healthy. Why don't you try law first? So I had this brief period of working at the tribunal, but I saw terrible things coming in front of me that were not resolved because the justice was sort of curtailed.
That is scary.
And a friend said, who was a doctor,
Yeah.
said, listen, medicine is an art. And I said, oh, really? Yeah, it's not so much science. Let me show you. He showed me beautiful Chinese and Japanese books of the medical arts, and I said, I'll give it a shot. And that's how I ended up with 6 years of medicine.
Oh, so you did 6 years of medicine.
6 years of medicine.
How many years is the total for medicine in?
They had shifted from a program of 5 years to a program of 7, and I ran out of steam because the infrastructure had been devalued and my professors were demoralized, and the dictatorship had done a lot of damage to the middle class and the possibilities in education by defunding and misspending. So tennis, which I had played all my life.
So before you go there,
Yeah.
so did you drop out of medicine?
I dropped out of medicine after having paid for a trip to Europe with tennis lessons, and I discovered the world. And I came back to medical school and I said, there is a world out there that I need to explore. This is not fun anymore. This is that was a shock.
So you somehow discovered something new,
Yes.
and you felt more passionate about than the medicine that you were trying to make it happen.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
I am certain that I could have been a good doctor,
Yeah.
but because you're inserted in a system,
Yeah.
the system has to work and
Yeah.
has to sort of have some steam and
Yeah.
have some oil
Definitely.
in the parts. No, otherwise you feel utilized and you don't.
Yeah.
You cannot make an impact. I mean, you can help
True.
a lot of people individually, but you're not part of a, an ensemble that produces
Well, you
results.
have to feel that. You have to
Yeah.
feel the drive. You have to feel the passion.
Yeah.
Over and over again, everybody says you can never really succeed if you don't have the passion and the drive
Yes.
for the field, whatever you choose.
Yeah.
So obviously, the tennis triggered something in you.
The tennis triggered the exploration of the world and also the idealist. And the disruption was that when you're in medical school and if you remain a doctor, you might have life on a straight line and the white picket fence and the car at the door and two kids, that will work.
Yeah.
But I said, uncertainty is fine. Like in a tennis match, I can figure out 2 steps ahead and then I don't know.
True.
And it's a
Because it
moving
depends on
field.
your
Yeah,
competitor.
exactly. So I said, I'm going to embrace that and I'm going to leave the country
Yeah.
through contacts that I had in tennis. Dennis Vandermeer, the best tennis teacher in the world, invited me to come, and
Wow.
he
What an
had
opportunity.
a similar life. He left South Africa in the same way, and he said, come over, we'll figure it out.
Oh, I like that. It's an
And,
open-ended
Exactly.
opportunity.
And
To be
it was
creative.
basically because of that mindset. He was very good at cushion me and teach me entrepreneurship and teach me the business at Hilton Head, which is one of the best sports markets in the world.
Wow.
Within 12 miles, you have anything that you need to learn sports marketing. So
Okay.
that was.
So did you come back to Argentina?
I started going back to visit family, but at some point I met Dr. Jim Lair, sports psychologist.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And on a handshake, I said, I think I can make you world famous. Because when I travel and I certify tennis teachers for the Vandermeer organization, they say, okay, but after this, what happens? And what happens with the mental side? And Jim was developing an approach that was very effective with professional players, was just publishing his first books, and he was very receptive. So we shook hands, and I went to sleep on a sofa with my friends in Dusseldorf, and I didn't speak German for 8 months, and I got 6 cities signed up.
Okay.
Jim landed 8 months later, and we had a very successful tour, and then IMG, the largest sports marketing company in the world that was employing Jim, said, who is this guy? Who is this Houdini that made this happen? And I said, well, if you want me to do this, year after year, let's have the green card, and I'll be based then at the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy in Florida, where he was with all the champions. Agassi, Sampras, Monica Seles, Jim Courier. And the interesting thing was that during that year in Dusseldorf.
So what were you doing actually? I think,
Yes.
you know, tennis is fine, and then you're talking about, are you talking about coaching? Coaching like mentally, or you physically coaching tennis? What exactly are we talking about
Initially, I was coaching at Vandermeer's physically. Then I started coaching mentally with Jim Lair.
Okay.
Which was a different approach. I mean, you do look at the entire game of the player, but basically it's that